ladies and gentlemen, boys and berries. Welcome to the Magic Brad Show here on a Friday morning in Minneapolis, St. Paul. And I've got a fellow magician, metaphysical woo-woo friend that's going to be on. And he's a man with a heart because it's in his name. So let me bring him up. Find him in the green room. He's got to be in there somewhere. Are you dressed? Good day, Steve Hart. How's the world? You're down there in Southeast, right?
Yes, in Florida. Yeah, near the Space Center.
Time zone?
Pardon?
Are you in the Central Time Zone?
Eastern? No, I'm East Coast. I think almost all Florida's in the East Coast.
No, there's a little panhandling thing.
I don't go up there.
It blew my mind.
That's like a 9-hour drive.
That's it.
Crazy. Well, I love it here in Florida. What happened was I worked on the cruise ships for a short period of time back in the 90s, and I fell in love with this area. So I ended up buying a house down here, and I thought I'd go back and forth to Indiana, where I was originally from, and I never went back.
Do you possibly know Travis Sims?
Pardon?
Travis Sims.
Yes, I knew who he is.
Yeah, he lives up here in Minneapolis. He's with he's got a networking group up here that I MC great. Once in a while. Yeah. It's a small world, but I wouldn't want to paint it, as Stephen Wright would say.
Yeah, you're right about that.
So today I wanted to talk with you because I've seen some of your stuff on Facebook, and you resonate, I think, closely with me in the metaphysical world. And I think part of that is our magic makes us think a little bit differently than others. But here's our little topics today we can talk about: magic, metaphysics, and marketing. 3M, that's up here in Minneapolis, the 3M Corporation. When did you start doing magic?
It all started in a metaphysical way. I had a moment that I'll never forget, and that was a magician was performing in my grade school when I was 10. And 2 hours before he started his show, they announced that President Kennedy had been shot. Oh, so you all know what that day does, those of you who are my age or older. And this magician took away all that fear because I thought that the Russians had killed Kennedy and the bombs were coming and I was going to die.
Oh, okay. And
at the end of the show, the fear, I was taken away. I was just totally engulfed in the show. It totally blown away about this guy. And at the end of the show, that fear came back, but a voice, I swear this voice within me said, "This is what you will do." And that's exactly what happened. That was in November, and Christmas, my parents bought a ventriloquist dummy and a magic kit for me, and that's how it all got started. But that voice has never left me all my life. It's still with me today.
Very interesting. Mine was, and it wasn't as spiritual, but a guy made a quarter disappear with a French drop and pulled it out of my ear. And it was just amazing to me that how can that possibly happen? I put it in my hand. It doesn't go away. How did that do that? And I was kind of hooked through it. I did magic through grade school into high school. And then when I graduated in 1975, people said, you should get a job. And I did that, worked about 3 years, got laid off and said, hey, where's my gold watch? And I said, heck with it. I'll be a magician. And that's what I ended up doing.
Yeah. Good for you.
Some people don't think you can make a living at doing magic, but I think you can.
Yeah. I was told I was performing all through high school that I had to get a real job. And I did. Like you said, I went to college, got a real job for a short period of time. And then I ended up in medical sales. And that opened the door for me to go back into doing the magic. And I ended up making more money than both of my parents did within 8 years. It was unbelievable. My career just took right off, So after I pursued my dreams, and it has been that way ever since. I've made 6 figures in my life, but you have to work hard, and you have to be very versatile. But today, no, I don't do that. I'll call myself semi-retired. I'll never quit performing magic. It's just I'm not working as hard.
You're kind of like me when people say, well, when are you going to retire? And to me, it's like, okay, this is retirement. No, I don't want to do that. I'm going to continue to do something.
Yeah. Yeah.
You do some speaking and stuff too at the magic.
What happened was I became very successful with my magic, and people started asking me, how is it you're doing that? And I created the Magic to Motivate website and started training other magicians how to use magic in speaking, because I was being invited to share. It started with the Chamber of Commerce, is where it started,
Sure.
and then from there on, it got to a point where I was working for major corporations, and they were paying me thousands of dollars to come in and speak and do a little bit of my magic. And so, yeah, I did that for many years, and I still will do it, but I don't want to talk about the stuff they want me to talk about now.
Sure.
I found myself gravitating away from the corporate business, so because it was not very pretty, in my opinion, And what I was seeing and what I have, my message today is something that they're not ready to receive, which is the part of the metaphysical.
There are some companies that are open to that, though. They're harder to find. It
Right.
shifted a lot. I remember, you ever heard of Tires Plus? Does that sound familiar?
No.
It's a chain tire store. Originated up here.
Oh,
But,
yeah. Oh, yeah. They're Tires Plus. Yeah. Yeah.
yeah,
They're down here.
the guy got cancer and then healed himself naturally. And they thought, what the hell? How come no chemo? And
Wow.
his mindset was more the mind can heal kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
Just a different approach. So that falls into the metaphysical. I mean,
yeah, I mean, there are companies out there, I'm sure, that would be happy to hire me, but I'm not promoting myself like I used to.
I don't have the energy anymore. The chase.
Well, it's about finding your purpose, finding your balance, and what life is means to you. And so here's the thing. I am also a life coach, and so I'm talking to people all the time, and people are looking for something that's out here, but it's really within you. And until you know who you are, none of it is going to work for you the way you want to. What is working for you is something you've discovered about yourself. So the secret is to find within you what it is that's unique, your gifts, strengths, and talents, and learn how to capitalize on that, instead of, because, like, as we said earlier, I was told I had to get a real job, and that wasn't where I was going. And so people, in my coaching, what I do is I help people ask questions, because I don't have the answer for them. The answer is within them. All I do is help them ask the right questions and better questions, until finally the lights come on and they're going, oh, now I understand. Now I do use tools. I mean, I have some what I call self-discovery tools. I started off years ago with Myers-Briggs and the DISC program, and then I moved on to the Enneagram, and then now Discover Your Strengths. So different personality assessments that I've used and still use today.
Yeah, my wife is a coach. She is a shaman, and then she got in to learn a lot about numerology, and she uses numerology to coach people through things. And the coaching thing is an interesting. It's not like. Or let me back up. I think sometimes you said it's within, and people are out there looking for these other things. If that was the way, you could just read a book and follow the book and then be successful. But for some reason, you've got somebody that's here and somebody that's here. How come this guy is just like taken off, and he doesn't seem that smart, but for some reason everything's working for him because he's in alignment and he's with the flow of energy.
Right.
And so the coaching thing, I think, is really important, in that I've got a couple coaches. And the reason it's important is because you got to have that third entity that talks to you. Because when you sit and talk to yourself, you give yourself the wrong answer because you're using the same data that you've always had. You need someone else to go, smack, think different.
Right.
Not that you hit people, but
yeah, I have a guy that calls me 2 or 3 times a week, and I don't always have the answers for him, but we have a discussion, and as I said, it's about asking questions, because we live in a world of field of possibilities, and what happens is we get narrow-minded, and so.
Yeah, I have a little saying. I say, in an infinite realm of possibility is the possibility of the impossible.
That's right.
Don't go there. Hey, don't you know the name Arnie Ranson?
Yes, I know the name, but I don't know.
Yeah, he's a friend of mine, spoke at some events I produced up here, and now he lives in Costa Rica. And I've got another friend that has 150 acres down there, but Arnie used to live down there.
Yeah.
And he's got a thing called question cards. And they're in the format of the who, what, where, when, how, and why, rather than doing an affirmation saying, I am a millionaire. it says, why am I a millionaire? And then your
Right.
brain starts thinking, wait a minute, I'm not a million. Well, I could be. And you think
That's
really
right.
different
That's
that way.
exactly right. That's the way to go.
Yeah, I think a lot of people get into, like, remember when The Secret came out and everybody thought, oh,
Oh,
I
I
prayed
was
for the Lamborghini in my driveway and it didn't happen. And then there was a big bunch of people that went, you idiot, you got to take action.
I was studying that principle through Napoleon Hill long before it came out, and
Sure.
then I was actually communicating with Joe Vitale, who's in the movie originally, and who's also a magician. I don't know if you know that.
Oh, I didn't
But
know that.
yeah, he is. Anyway, the story is, uh, I was devastated. I was so elated. I cried when I first saw The Secret. But so I understood it. But you're right. A lot of people did not understand, and it has evolved since then, since the movie first came out,
Mhm.
and my own awareness. But I use what we call the law of attraction all the times in my life.
Well, it's kind of like, if you're immersed in Japan, eventually you'll learn how to speak Japanese. You'll even learn Japanese culture because you're in it. So if you speak whatever that affirmation is, eventually it's going to happen because you're just in it all the time.
But let me share with you a little secret of what I've learned about
You're not
affirmation.
supposed to tell secrets. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, plug your ears, folks. Shed Helmstetter wrote the book, What Do You Say When You Talk to Yourself? And I was actually trained under him with my coaching. But the thing I've learned to do is when I have an affirmation, I have to anchor that statement. So I have to say, what is it about that statement that's true about me? And so that's what I'll not go into more detail than that. If you want to hear more, we'll talk later. But I'm using what they call anchoring
Yeah.
statements.
I studied that a little bit. Tony Robbins talks a lot about that kind of stuff.
Yeah. Hmm.
And I studied a little bit, and I remember a situation because I was trying to build my confidence. So whenever I felt confident, I was doing a thing where I'd squeeze my thumb like this. I'd grab my thumb and I'd squeeze it whenever I felt confident. So that was my trigger. It's my confidence. And it's so powerful. I remember I was sitting at a fairly important meeting once and I was losing confidence. So under the table, I squeezed my thumb and I lost it. I just went blank because it was so powerful.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
That actually what you're sharing there is very powerful. You're right. To have the sense of feeling, to have the awareness is one thing, but then you anchor it with something like that,
Mhm.
and even though it becomes subconscious after a period of time, you're still anchoring that, and it becomes a part of you.
Well, those things are anchored. I'll tell a quick little story. You ever do anything with breath work?
Yes. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I got a friend that I hired, and he did some sessions with me. And my family, my mother and father were alcoholics, and they would go off to the bar and abandon me, and then it would bring me home a nut goody candy bar, as a reward for being alone for all that time. But that has a psychological thing when you're home. You're like 8 years old and you're by
Yeah.
yourself. It's kind of scary. So I did this breathwork session, and when I was done with it, because we were dealing with this the not enough issue. I was going through all that stuff. I'm not good enough. And I got done with the session and I was just craving chocolate craziness. It's just like I want a Snickers bar or something. So on the way home, I stopped at the store and they had them. I just did a beeline back to the candy department and they had this big giant package with 6 nut goodies in there. And I bought that and I ate 4 of them before I got home. Just-
That's a great
so,
story, and I'm a firm believer in breath work. I have experienced it myself, and it's very powerful. I mean, a lot of people poo-poo it and are afraid of it. And I don't do that kind of stuff.
no,
Let me
it's
tell you,
crazy.
you want to change.
Totally. It's
Things
good.
will come up like that you just described. That consciously we can't do with our little minds. But
It
our
definitely created
spirits.
that issue for me because I would have situations where, I'm with my girlfriend or my wife or whatever, and they decide to go out with their girlfriend and I'm home by myself and I get in this funk. That no longer bothers me I can be by myself. It's not
Hey,
that big a deal. So that situation was cleared because of that, because we had that conversation and wiped it out, puts it in a neutral spot, and you can kind of go, don't sweat the small stuff. It's all small stuff.
you've really done a lot of work.
I have.
That's, yeah,
I
you
have.
have.
And I think because of magic is how it happened. I remember as a kid sitting by the lake by where we are, and there's a fountain. And I used to sit there for hours and just contemplate stuff, just watch the fountain. And it's sort of a meditative, getting in touch with.
Well, I'm a huge believer in meditation. In 2005, I really put myself to start meditating, and so yeah, and just getting quiet, just getting away from the noise and distraction, and just sitting with yourself, like you just described, is the beginning of all that. And after a while, the universe begins to speak to you.
Yeah, it opens up the possibility when you get rid of that duality ping pong thing, left, right, good,
But be
bad,
careful.
all that.
That's a dirty word, duality. A lot of people have struggled with that. Oh my gosh.
You got
I
to get
mean,
into
I mean,
that
even
third.
yeah. I mean, because we live in a duality. This is right, that's wrong. Oh my God, we torture ourselves.
Well, I remember there was a guy that he had a program. It was thinking without the box because it was based on that thinking outside of the box. Well, that's the inside, the outside, the duality. So he says there's no box.
That's right.
Start with a clean slate.
It's a
Pretty
tough
amazing.
one to wrap your brain around, but eventually, it took me years. Don't get me wrong. I studied under David Hawkins, Dr. David R. Hawkins,
Oh,
and his first book, Power versus Force. It really changed me. It freed me and exposed me to the duality way of thinking and how to let go of that and become
you said
neutral.
that you had the magic thing was a spiritual experience for you, but was there something else that got you onto more of a spiritually thinking path?
Well, I was raised in a Christian church, so
Mhm.
but I just somehow didn't feel right about everything I was hearing, and so that had an influence upon me. And I still I can relate well to people who are Christians. I know the scriptures pretty thoroughly, and but all I can tell you is spirit, as I said earlier, that voice that spoke to me when I was young, that has never left me. It's almost like it's been my continual guidance. And so, other than that, no. But if people ask me, well, how is it that I can evolve and become more spiritual? I said, just meditate. But start off like I just described.
That's
Just
very helpful.
get quiet. Get
I still
quiet.
have a hard time with it. I've got this monkey mind that constantly talks to
And
me.
I understand that. I have people who I coach who share with me that I don't. I'm able to shut down, but it's a period of time. It does take time, so don't torture yourself. The most important thing is, like you said, go somewhere where you can get quiet. You can
Yeah.
connect with the universe.
I lived in Asheville, North Carolina for a couple of years, and I got a friend down there that taught me about heart-centered meditation, where you bypass that cerebral left-right thing and just go right to the heart.
That's not so easy for some people, but yes, you're
It's
right.
not. Oh, we got a visitor. What the heck is this? Oh, our magician friend, Frank Togas. He says, when I was young, nice to see there's a partial magic component to the show today. It is partially magic. Yes, it is, Frank. Frank is
Well,
a local magician here.
I don't try to put my metaphysical into my show as much as I function from that place. I know that what I'm doing is I'm putting smiles on people's faces and joy in their heart. That an enlightenment, joy like that is the beginning of enlightenment.
Well, the
But I
metaphysical stuff kind of comes into the magic naturally. If you called it
yes,
out, you might turn somebody away if you said, if you started talking about pentagrams and
yes, and you have to sort through all that to what fits for you, what works for you.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But I'm loving what I'm done, and I have really no regrets, and I will continue to do what I'm doing.
Yep. I think magic is a very interesting, I guess, skill or occupation or topic in that it's applicable to any age,
Oh
gender,
yeah,
race, and then it's different than everything else because the stuff in sleight of hand magic happens behind the scenes.
oh yeah.
We're juggling, you can see the guy juggling, playing guitar, you can see him playing the guitar. But with magic, you see him throw a coin in his hand. You don't realize all the mechanics that happened in the back. that made that
Right.
happen when it disappears.
Right. That's interesting you brought that up because just this year I opened up a new website called DollarStoreMagicTricks.com.
I saw that.
And what it is, it's the stuff that I started off when I was a kid. So some of the simple things. And what I did is I took a simple trick that I learned back when I was a kid magician, and now I brought it with a new idea, a new presentation, new routine. So that's one of the things I'm doing. And the idea behind it is, as you said earlier, it's a development issue. The people who skipped all that basic, simple magic stuff, they're struggling when they get into we'll call it the big boy stuff. Being able to entertain an audience. It's I've worked a lot of magic conventions. I worked at the Magic Castle in Hollywood, and I've seen guys who are really good, and I've seen guys who really struggle. And so, and I wonder why it is that they don't get it. And I think it goes back to what I just said. They didn't learn the basic or have the basic experiences.
Yeah. Because there's things that you can do, magic effects that are very simple and very impactful. So
Yes.
people are looking for the complicated thing.
Yes, right. That's exactly what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I remember.
I think we got a meeting of the minds here.
When one of my first tricks was the ball and vase, with the ball disappeared, and that is a phenomenal trick. And when you perform it skillfully, people are blown away by it. In fact, it's just interesting. You might find history. I was just hired just a month ago for a gig, and they were having a bunch of kids. Well, not a bunch. They had about 10 kids there, and they wanted me to do a magic show for the kids. So I did. And then they said, "Well, will you come over and entertain the adults?" And there were about 50 or 60 adults. Well, the kids were like, they were just, they couldn't stay connected to what I was doing for whatever reason. But when I went down to perform for the adults, they were blown away. They had never seen live magic before. And so all I can tell you is it still has a very strong, powerful effect upon people. And I love what I do. And I'm grateful for what I've learned over the years.
Well, before I close this off, we've gone for about 22 minutes, but I got one question that might end up being a long answer to it or a long conversation about it. And you'll understand when I ask you the question. What's your take on that exposure of magic and showing how the things are working, teaching it online in public?
I overall don't have a problem with it. I don't promote it. I don't do it. I don't encourage it. But it's like dance or playing the piano. You can watch somebody and they'll show you how it's done, but you can't do it. I mean, when the movie came out, or the TV show, rather, The Masked Magician, and he exposed all that magic. It didn't take very long before they were entertained by it. But it didn't take very long before they couldn't remember what he exposed to them.
Mm-hmm.
Like the linking rings, I still perform the linking rings. He exposed that on the show, and I continue to perform it, and because it's a very powerful illusion. So no, I don't have a problem with it. I'm like I said, I don't promote it. I'm not interested in promoting it. I am interested in teaching magic to people who want to learn it.
To people who want to learn it, sure. And I go through this sometimes when I'm having conversations because I'm against it. I think it's teach in private, perform in public. And a lot of people say, well, how would anybody learn if you're not going to teach it? Well, that's the way they did it. You get under the wing of a pro and you go to the magic store and you get books and you're not exposed to it on YouTube. But
yeah, when we were kids, it was hard to get a magician to open up and share a secret. Very difficult. You had to show them that you knew from reading books, because that was the only way to really learn. We didn't have videos. We saw TV, maybe a little bit on TV, but you had to show them that and then they would slowly begin to share with you some of the deep secrets.
Some people's magician's argument for it is it helps get exposure out and there's more magic. But do we need more magic? But my take on it is a little bit different in that I'm looking at it from the spectator point of view. It ruins it for the spectator.
Yeah, technically it does. Yes.
It's like telling a little kid that Santa Claus is your dad.
Yeah.
Ruins
Yeah,
all the magic.
I do one trick in my show, my adult show, where I perform a trick, then I show how it's done, and then I have the spectator with me, a volunteer on stage, perform it. But when they do it, the trick blows up.
Well, see,
And
that's a little bit different. It might be teaching a real secret, but it's not revealing it for malicious purposes, which some of these guys are doing it. They're doing it for malicious
no,
purposes,
you're right.
or they're doing it to boost their ego, or
Yeah, right.
to make money on TikTok or YouTube or whatever.
Yeah, I like I said, I do not promote exposure, and I do not give attention to it. Um, and I will speak out against it when I see it. Here's the one, the one that gets me is the one that they don't try to expose it, and they end up exposing it because they don't perform it right. I've seen that.
That's even worse.
Disturbs me more than anything else.
I can forgive them because it's unintentional.
Well, that's true. Don't get me wrong. You have to be bad somewhere to learn magic. So if you're a beginner, then But I'm not going any further and being more critical.
Okay, well, I'm going to pop you into the green room, and again, there are some more digital hors d'oeuvres back there if you want to partake.
I'd be happy to come back sometime and talk more.
Yeah, and I'll meet you in the green room. We'll have another conversation before we chop it off. But thank you very much, Steve Hart. Appreciate it. Peace. Well, that was tons of fun. I enjoyed talking with that gentleman because we're both similar as far as the metaphysical world and all that kind of stuff. But I went a little bit long. Sorry about that if I stuck around too long, but you can always replay this or whatever. So I'm going to sign this off. Peace, love, and happiness. This is Magic Brad signing off. Enjoy your day. Be good. Be kind. Be nice. Be nice. I said be nice.